The name of the show is The Way to Go. Tonight's guest is Greg Kritikos. He's a fine actor, a stand-up comedian, a producer, and a friend. And I'd like to welcome him to the show. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited about this. And, when you called me down for the show, it was really wonderful. Thank you.
That's it. And it's good to have you here. I'm a fan, first of all. I'd like to let you know that I'm a big fan of yours. And you're a native New Yorker, right? Or were you?
Well, I was born in Athens, Greece.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You came from Greece.
Yes. I came here when I was 7 years old, and I moved to Astoria.
Wow. You lost the accent.
Yeah, I lost the accent. Yeah, well, actually, a lot of the people that were, mostly the Greeks that were moving into New York at the time, were moving towards Ditmars, and I grew up with the Irish and a lot of Italians by 30th Avenue, which is the heart of Astoria.
So back then, was that in the 70s?
Yes.
So I guess there was a lot of changes. I just remember, because I'm older than you, I just remember the city was, when I was growing up as a kid, the cops were in charge, and if anything happened, the cops would come over and say, "I'm going to tell your mother," and we believed it. They never did, but if you did something like throw a snowball or something.
Sure.
But I think in the 70s, that was the beginning of the end of the city at some point. I mean, there was there was a lot of unemployment happening beginning in the 70s, and people, and kind of like unrest was happening. That we had,
Yeah, sure, definitely. I remember, I got to Astoria on 30th Avenue in 1971.
Right.
And back then it was funny because the police cars back then were green and white with the one bulb.
Right.
And talking about the police officers, they would always be walking and they would be swinging their nightstick, with the long blue jackets.
And how old were you then?
7 years old. I got to the United States.
So what was the neighborhood like?
It was a lot of mother and father pop stores, as they call them, very tight-knit, like mostly on that area. I grew up by St. Joseph's Church.
Right.
It was mostly, like I said, a lot of Irish and Italian, some German, deli still, and a lot of the Greeks were moving towards Ditmars. But it was wonderful. It was great, growing up with the kids and playing a lot of stickball, alley ball, a lot of bars,
Right.
a lot of bars on 30th Avenue.
As you got older, were there any transitions that were happening in the neighborhood?
Sure. What happened is all the, one of the beautiful things about life is, nothing lasts forever.
That's true.
So we need to, we adapt to certain, like the neighborhood and stuff like that. I grew up it was kind of rough for me in the beginning because my mother she would shave my head. Yeah, the old-fashioned Greek style. So she would dress me funny, and I was I couldn't speak well English.
Right.
So I always stuck out. I was always a character, and I mispronounced the word hamburger one day, and they called me, I said hamburger instead of hamburger. Right. And they nicknamed me Hamburger.
Oh.
And growing up, I hated that name. I couldn't stand that name. I was like, oh my God. And there was a lot of neighborhood kids. The older guys would drink a lot, but the story was more like tough neighborhood. A lot of bars and stuff, people drinking, partying. Right. And then later on, as I got older, I started getting into sports and stuff. Then in the 80s, I just just a lot of clubs came in and hanging out with the girls.
So were you did you have a group of people that you hung out with in particular?
Sure. Well, you're funny. Yes, stories from Astoria. I have a lot of them, and that's exactly what. Obviously, you're in the cast. You're a great actor, and I love the way you act. And
Ditto.
When I first met you in the audition, you were unbelievable. I mean,
and I will say that was the. I remember waiting outside. We're talking about stories from Astoria, by the way, which is the brain. It came from this guy's brain. It's a story that has to be seen and has to be told. But I was waiting outside to do an audition, and I'm hearing this guy intensely getting into all these different scenes and all this with other people, and and the next person goes, the next person. I said, "Uh-oh, it's my turn," and I'm asked to play his father.
Yeah.
And it was the most unbelievable sparring match, but also respect, disrespect, love, hate, everything. I think it touched everything.
It touched a lot. My father, as you know, he was a great soccer player. He was one of the best soccer players in the late 40s, early 50s, and he was playing while the Nazis occupied Greece, in that certain part of Greece. And we all, after he was his career, they didn't pay you back then, So when we came, when he was fed up, he took my mom, my sister, and I, and we moved to America for the American dream. Unfortunately, my mom got hit by a drunken driver when she was 42. She's an amputee. They amputated her leg. So we came from Greece to come to the,
Right.
for the American dream, and unfortunately we had tragedies, but we're still alive, thank God, the good Lord,
That's it.
And that's what it's about. Stories from Astoria is about it's about a family that comes to Astoria, and they go through tragedies, but I started hanging around with a lot of Greeks back then. In the 80s, I have a lot of friends of mine, and
Right.
we were like jokesters. Obviously, I'm a comedian today. Greg T is
Right.
my stage name.
Right.
I like to laugh with life, not at life.
Right.
And my father was a very intense person, very proud. And when when we had that scene,
Right.
and you got into like the character,
Right.
you pulled something out, and I saw it in you. You were a very powerful scene, and
Well,
you brought a lot of
and-
emotion.
And the thing is, it takes two to tango, and you were excellent. And again, the interesting aspect of that audition was that initially it was in front of Ken Kushner and a few other people, and then all of a sudden people started coming in. And even when I left, people could hear, because it was so intense between us, outside they said, wow, that was some audition. And it might have discouraged a few actors from walking into the door after that. But since we're talking about stories from Astoria, maybe it's a good time to show the trailer for it. Would you like to see the trailer?
Yeah, sure. I would love to see the trailer.
So let's take a look at the trailer for Stories from Astoria.
My name is Greg. My friends call me Greg Tretch. That's short for treacherous. The Greeks put Astoria on the map. Me and my boys ran Astoria. Back in the 80s, organized crime ran the streets. We had our hands on it all, especially narcotics. If you wanted to make money, or if you had a problem, you came to us. Half of my boys are dead. The other half were in prison. And these are my stories.
What a story.
There you go. And that scene when you're actually, the younger Grigorios Kritikos, and you have his hands on, I mean, that was a powerful scene. I love the way you act, by the way. You're so real, Getting back to the original story we were saying,
Yeah.
you are right, because that was actually the beginning of my career. And, the intensity that we had, on stage, because acting is reacting to the actor, actually,
Yes.
And you definitely, and I remember to this day, somebody was telling me that, they remember the audition, and they saw it, and it was a great audition, and I'm so grateful that, you're in the movie,
Well, and
series, actually.
I actually am grateful that I did the audition, because it's those moments. I act for the pleasure of it, the pure pleasure. It makes me happy, and that was one of the most pleasurable moments that I've ever had in acting. And that was the scene with you. And there it is. It's on the table. It's the truth.
Well, it's a lot of work, because I'm officially the author of The Shoemaker's Son.
Right.
And Stories from Astoria. With Stories from Astoria, we almost completed with the pilot has been written, obviously, so we're in pre-production,
Right.
and I'm taking my time with this very carefully, because, it's going to be a beautiful, series.
Well, you want to do it right. So,
I want to do it right. In order to do something right, you have to make sure you have all the elements, all the right pieces fit, and everything perfect.
Well, you do have some interesting people that are going to be a part of it. So,
no question about it. No question about it. And that's what I'm working on. Besides that, I'm also doing comedy,
Right.
I just recently, well, not recently, it's been quite a while now. Altogether, I went up to 100, I was 380 pounds at one point.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was up to 380 pounds. So when I met you, I had already lost the
Right.
weight already. I just celebrated 2 years or so. Sobriety.
Congratulations.
Thank you. March 2nd is my sober date. And, what happened is, got my drinking got a little out of hand. But, yeah. And I went to 7 days of detox in hospital, 3.5 months of rehabilitation, and like, just putting the drink down. But I'm very happy today because, I'm alive. I was dying, very hard.
Is it still like one day at a time in terms of
Yes,
making that
it's always,
decision?
listen, it's one day at a time because God is great, man. I'm very happy. I'm Greek Orthodox, and, it's like, being positive in life, staying positive, because the tragedy that I went through, I kind of hit rock bottom, and that'll be, of course, in the series and the movie and all that. They're going to see that. But it's one day at a time for me, and I'm very grateful for a lot of things. And definitely sitting here with you, and I do a lot of service. I'm a motivational speaker now as well.
That's great.
And when they say comedy comes from pain, it comes from pain because, I get on stage and I just talk about myself, and but most of all, it's I love to direct. Just to visualize. I'm writing a lot now, and just to be working around guys like you, actors, Ken Kushner. I love the way he directed the what is it called? The trailer, he called it, a sizzle reel, whatever that we did. And we have a lot of interest in the actors,
Absolutely.
And actors that you can actually bring out. I remember one time I was sitting with this actor, and he said to me, a good actor will jump out of the TV set and get into you. And when I see you, and getting back to that audition and all that, plus I've seen you really, and you're a dynamite actor, and it's a wonderful
I appreciate
thing.
that. That's great. But I'm really fascinated. Fascinated with the fact that that you have all this energy, and the other thing that interests me about you is that you're a square shooter. You're Mr. Truth. You don't. This is a family show, but you don't. There's no BS involved with you. You're a person who you smell it. You expect that from people, and you give it to people. You're an honest person, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, in the show that I do, I'm about to another production I'm doing is called the Greg T Show, and the T stands for the truth, the whole truth.
Oh, I didn't know.
The truth.
Oh, that's what the T.
So help me God show. Yes,
I didn't know
I
that.
have, my PR, my consultant is Seville Draper. She's wonderful to work with, and she's going to be co-producing the show with me. We're already in process looking at venues and stuff like that.
Cool.
But, getting back to the truth, my father told me when I was a young kid, at a young age, he goes, never be afraid of the truth.
All right.
Never be afraid of the truth, And I like to, believe that because, the joke is, too many white lies is going to turn grayish, you know what I mean? But, yeah, definitely, especially when you're around a lot of, honest people, I'm a strong believer that everything does happen for a reason in life.
Oh, I agree with you.
I was 380 pounds. I was, I was looking forward to dying. I was very depressed. I had very bad depression.
Right.
And out of all this, thank God, I just came out of it. And one day at a time turned to be 2 years, just March 2nd. And before that, when I met you, I was just getting into sobriety. I stayed sober for a while. Right. But now I'm working, and it's a wonderful thing, and being around positive energy. I think it's all positive energy, And
creative, the whole creative process, I think, is also, that's what's doing it for me, because before I started acting, a few years ago, the second time around, I started in the 80s, and then I stopped for 22 years, and then I started again in 2010. Those 22 years, even though I was raising my family and doing things like that, I wasn't really doing what I felt I wasn't living. I hate to, it's the truth. And now with the acting, I find that my life is much more focused, much more happy, and I found what I'm doing. And I think you found what you're doing in your creative energy as well.
Yes, definitely, no doubt about it. And you said the key word also, family.
That's it.
I'm very, you're a wonderful man, you have a beautiful family, God bless. And, for a long time I was missing that piece because I went to a bad marriage. I have a wonderful son. When I was splitting up with my wife, he was 6 years old. And then I fell into a long depression for a long time. And then one day you live a 6-year-old child because I was out of his life. And then now he's a grown man, 18 years old. That whole past, there's a thing called the dash. You look at the tombstone, you look at the dates, in between the dash, what have we done in the dash? A little dash. Now today I could put a brand new dash, and I met the love of my life. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. We were introduced by a mutual friend. Right. And it's that inner peace, that inner peace that, that I'm around and I love her dearly. We are already talking about, marriage.
That's great.
And it all starts from that and then doing what you love because I believe the secret to life is knowing who you are. Right. When you know who you are, you'll do something that you love.
Absolutely.
And when you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
That's exactly true.
You know, and these are the things, and I like to live with life, not at life, you know, and you know, just doing what I love, and loving is like writing and getting into movies and being around people like you, you know, you're a great actor, you've been in the business much longer than I have, and you know, I'm in awe with you, you know, and it's amazing because
but
I could feel that electricity coming out of you.
I appreciate that, but I think that I'm more of in awe of people like you who are the creative side. In other words, I mirror things, you know. As an actor, you know, I mean, I might take your words and then I'll interpret them and try to communicate it, but the words are the most important thing. I mean, the actor is just, it's like the delivery system for the words, you know what I mean? So the words have to come first, you know?
The words do, and I love quotes because my father was a big student of philosophy, and we didn't really have a great communication after this, you know, the tragedy that we took place because, you know, it was tough. It was very rough because, you know, I mean, you know, growing up as a child after my mom was struck by the vehicle, you know, it was like, you know, like Thanksgivings were out the door, Christmases were out the door.
It really sucks.
You know, they call me a natural, which I've never taken an actor, but now I'm like trying to polish. I've been putting some acting classes together here and there, and it's like, I was the kid that always wanted to be attached because I left the country at such a young age, and I was in a rush always to, like, you know, be connected to friends and stuff, you know. And then when, like, you know, people would tease me, make fun of me, I would act to it by saying, yeah, well, I got the big wheel and I got that. We were poor. Right. So life is but a stage, you know, we are actors, you know, and true. Like, you know, growing up, you know, with that, and then, like, I guess there's an old saying, like, all the dirt comes out in a wash. So I went through a lot in my life, you know, but I'm grateful today because, you know what, I seen this kid one day in Times Square sitting on a plastic bucket, and he had no arms. And he had the drumstick. Somebody had, you know, the bandages around his wrist, and they were connected, and he was playing the drums on a plastic bucket, and he had this smile, a smile that couldn't be untouched. It was priceless.
That's it.
You
so
know?
there's more to, I mean, if you could find beauty and...
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's amazing. And you know, one thing I like to say...
How could you complain? You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And you know what? But one thing I do, I'll tell you, that really sticks with me. See, every man and woman dies.
That's true.
But not every man and woman lives.
That's true, too.
You know?
Yeah.
And today I choose to live, and I'm very happy. You know what I'm saying? You know, I stick to my Diet Coke and stuff, you know, because I'm you know, the way I look at it, I've been drinking for 30 years straight. I got to the point that I was taking 28 pills a day.
Oh, my God.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, sugar, all that. I have pictures that, you know, obviously you're going to see. And it's like, now it's like so clear, you know what I'm saying? And being around people that are positive like yourself and in the movie industry, doing something you love. And my creativity, like putting it on paper. I could go to Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, sit down and just write for hours. And the stuff that comes out of my mind is like, where's all this stuff coming from?
And,
you know?
and I can't wait to see what happens with stories, because just the small sizzle reel that we did has so much potential. I mean,
no doubt about it. And you know what? As a matter of fact, Seville and I were looking. We always look at the trailer, and like, you know, I always talk about you and other actors, you know, and it's going to be great because it's going to be such a challenge for me to like, you know, I'm writing obviously something that fits with you, because I know your dimensions as an actor, and I know what you're capable of, and that's going to be the challenge, putting that together and watching you actually
that should be
bringing
fun.
it out is going to be remarkable. It's going to be beautiful.
Great, and that's and it's fun to me. You know, if it's not fun, you shouldn't do it. And to me, working with you was fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. I really can't wait. I mean, it's going to be, and the intensity of that show and what really can come out, especially depending on what kind of, we have to develop, like you're saying, I'm not even sure, but I wish I could play your father, but you know, just...
Yeah, no doubt about it, but you know what, this, like, I have, like, you know, let's put it this way, in my mind, I look at the acts and, you know, the actors, and I know which way I'm putting them. And when somebody like you could play my uncle, you could play my father, you know, because I know the dynamic in you. I
think that, I mean, just the sparring of the words.
Yeah,
I mean,
you have to have that electricity. And I think the first time I actually sat there, it was you. And you know, I was like, after, you know, people came up to you like, great audition, unbelievable. So, and I was saying to myself, wow, what you brought out of me.
And that's it. And that's what I think the acting is. It takes two to tango, and that's and really it does. You can't,
Yeah.
you know, unless you're doing a monologue. You know, you need someone to match wits with you. You know, and
Yeah.
to make it really interesting. And we were connected.
Sure.
And it was pretty intense.
Yeah, pretty, very much. And you know
So
what?
what's next? Other than, I mean, we just finished. We just wrapped the feature, The Psychotics.
Yeah, The Psychotics.
Oh
Yeah,
my God, that's
definitely.
going to be an intense movie.
That is very much. The Psychotics is unbelievable. Actually, I shot my scene with Richard Riker.
Yeah.
I'm actually going back on set for 79 parts.
Cool.
Okay, that's Ari Tobbs, the director. I'm actually in it with Eric Roberts is in it, Joey D'Onofrio,
Oh, I heard
John Sol.
I heard about
yes.
that. Eric
I play a
Roberts.
scene where I'm actually in a scene with Joey D'Onofrio, and I play a wise guy, a gangster. And I'm a
Hard to
little
believe
angry.
that you would play that part. I can't see it.
Yeah,
No, I mean,
right.
it's like perfect casting, actually.
Well, there's another movie that I'm in, and I play a police commissioner.
Well, that's cool.
I play with that's Bruce Penn. Bruce
But
Penn's the
it is
director of
funny
Fashion
how,
Police.
and I'm the type of guy that gets cast either as the cop or the bad guy. Usually, those are the two. But you know, like I worked on Cagney and Lacey for 3 years as a cop. But as a bad guy, I play. You know, I've played mobsters all the time. So it's
Yeah,
interesting.
I've seen it. I've seen it, and as a matter of fact, yes, and that's what's great about you. You know what I'm saying? You're versatile.
But I also think that the cops and gangsters are almost very similar in certain ways. I mean, they play both. It's like the flip side of the same coin. So it's
a crooked cop.
a crooked cop.
A crooked cop.
But there are none of that. There's no crooked
There's no
cops.
such thing as a crooked
right,
cop.
that's
No
it.
such thing. Yeah, definitely. And I had this people talk about my voice. Let me tell you something. I couldn't like sneak up on a quarter, the eagle fly off. You know, this is the voice.
But the other thing, I mean, for a person who is new to acting, you have such confidence, and you know, you're able to, you're fearless, and to me, that's really a sign of like, you know, a good place to start. You know what I mean? If you're fearless, because a lot of people spend years trying to overcome that fear, and the fear is the one thing that blocks you from doing a really good performance. You know what I mean? Or,
Yes, I could definitely relate to that
Yeah.
because, again, like I remember the first time I did comedy, New York Comedy Club, it was a Clayton Fletcher show.
Yes.
My friend said to me, Mio, a real good friend of mine, he said, do me one favor. I was nervous,
Right.
but I had a little practice in front of people when I was in rehabilitation. I used to tell jokes
Right.
in front of like a large audience.
Right.
He goes, just be yourself.
That's it.
Just do me one favor, be yourself. And I went on there, and it was a success. You know, I made people laugh. I'm told that comedy is very hard because 1 minute on stage is an eternity.
Well, I've never done stage, so it's
Yeah. Well, you know the beautiful thing about comedy, live comedy,
Yeah.
is that you're live. You're right there. You know the electricity.
Right.
And I'll give you a little secret. The first time I actually went on New York Comedy Club, I slipped by mistake. I said something, and
Right.
the people heard it. I went on stage, and when I was introduced, I said, I want to thank everybody for coming on stage. And then I said, whoops, I'm on stage, you're over there. And the room exploded.
That's
and then
funny.
from there, I could just feel the electricity coming underneath me. And then it was just like, talking about,
And that's
myself,
it.
how I used
and
to
you know,
be.
it's amazing because the same thing happened when, after not acting for 22 years, the first scene that I did was with another guy, this guy Brandon, and because he made it easy for me, the rest didn't come easy, but it started to become natural. Once you get past that first barrier, that's it. You know, I mean,
Yeah. And somebody like you've been acting how many years now?
since 1982.
That's,
But there was a 20-year break.
20-year break, but
Yeah.
to think of all the experience, I can imagine all
It
the
was fun.
experience. And I'm in awe every time I see
And
you.
at the same time, though, one of the best, if not the best, times I had acting was the audition that I did with you. I'm telling you, it was when Ken Kushner said, "Now that's a professional doing an audition." I'll never forget those words. I mean, that's how a professional does an audition. I couldn't believe he said it, and I couldn't have done it without you. And maybe that one scene had to have both of us in. I mean, in other words, you brought out something in me, and hopefully I brought out something in you. So. It was just like a dance.
Well, in my mind, because people have I shoot pool trophies and stuff like that. In my short little career of acting that I'm all in, my trophies that I think of all the time is the scene that you and I auditioned for the first time, because I remember the people's faces in the, you know,
And they kept on coming in.
Yeah, and they were like looking, and they were like, "What is this?" And I mean, nobody knew.
And we
who
just
I was.
met. And we just met.
Yes,
It was like instantaneous.
exactly. And I felt that electricity, and it was, and
And now you know you could do that with anybody you meet.
Well, I don't know about everybody,
But I mean,
I mean, of
No,
course.
but what I'm
like-
saying is that you can bring the fact that you were able to do that with an individual
yeah.
to another individual.
But the way, and I hate to use the word "but" and "if,"
Yes.
which I'm very you know, I like to stay positive. What I meant is, I think, like, you know, in a scene, in a tense scene,
Yes.
obviously, the person that you're in, he's going to grab
That's it.
out of you, and that's why I said, like,
And
you
he
know,
also has to pass the ball to you.
exactly,
You know?
know when to, like, you know, when we were doing the improv and the way we were doing it, but it was amazing. I'll never forget that. That's like one of my trophies in my mind.
And you know, I went out to lunch. I mean, for my regular job, and I said, "Who the hell knows what's going to happen? If I get the job, it's not, you know." JT got the job for the audition. I said, "You know, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I have to go back to work." That was like a life changer. It was like it really was. It was
believe me.
It was a moment.
In my mind, believe me, it's comforting to know that I have an actor like you in my cast.
Oh, that's great. And but you know, you have to stay on your toes with you. You know, there's no you know, you can't just skate along without. You have to really do the pumping when you work. Yeah, your mind has to work when you're acting with an actor like you.
Yeah, well, no doubt about it. You know, somebody from me on my end. I mean, like, you know, I got to stay on my toes because, like I said, I'm on awe with you.
Right.
You know, I
No,
look
well,
up to
that's
you.
okay.
No,
I appreciate that.
No, I love you the way you act, and I love that realness.
But it's also the community. I mean, we're all trying to do the best we can, and we're trying. And if we encourage other people to, you know, if you have a good relationship with another actor, it's only going to enhance your own performance.
Exactly.
So to me, those are the most important things: is to just enjoy what you're doing and do it with people that you enjoy being with.
Definitely, no doubt about it, 100%. And I couldn't agree with you more. And again, it comes to that inner peace and the love for the art.
That's it. And you know, the flip side of love is that I hate that this interview has come to a close.
Oh,
you know?
man.
And you know, it's amazing how quickly it happens. But I really want to thank you, Greg, for being a guest on The Way to Go. And you've been a great guest. And at this point, I have to say, it's a wrap. Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much.